There are moments in life when everything seems to collapse. The dreams you once held dear are shattered. The people you trusted walk away. The things you built with your own two hands crumble. And in those dark hours, when you are left with nothing but the echo of your own broken prayers, you begin to wonder, will I ever recover from this? Will I ever rise again? But I came to tell you today, when God is about to give you more than you lost, He will show you something. He will give you a sign, a stirring deep in your spirit, a shift in your atmosphere, a quiet whisper from heaven that says, get ready, what's coming is greater than what's gone. God never wastes your pain. He never allows loss to visit your life without preparing a greater gain. In the book of Job, we see a man who lost everything, his wealth, his health, even his children. And yet in the end, God restored to him double what he had lost. That is not a fairy tale. That is not just poetic justice. That is the nature of the God we serve. When He permits loss, it is because He is preparing a blessing that your hands could not have held before. And before He releases that double portion, you will see certain things begin to happen. Not in the natural, but in the spiritual. Not in your bank account, but in your spirit. The wind of God will begin to stir, the enemy will begin to panic, and your heart will begin to feel an unfamiliar strength rising within you, because God always sends a sign when increase is on the way. But here is the mystery before God gives you more than you lost. He allows you to walk through the fire of less. He allows the stripping, the humbling, the weeping in the midnight hour. Why? Because before He blesses you, He purifies you. Before He multiplies you, He separates you. Before He restores you, He rebuilds you. And not on the same old foundation, but on one that is deeper, stronger, unshakable. Many want the overflow without the pruning. Many want the miracle without the furnace. But hear me today. The loss you endured was not the end of your story. It was the preparation for the glory that's coming. Some of you are in a season where God has allowed certain things to be taken from you. It wasn't the devil, it wasn't bad luck, it wasn't a coincidence, it was divine removal. Because if God didn't take it, you would have stayed in a place too small for the vision He has for your life. You would have settled for what was familiar, for what was comfortable, for what you could manage. But God is not interested in your comfort, He is interested in your calling. And when He is about to give you more, He often allows things to fall apart so that He can put them back together in a way that brings Him glory. There's someone listening to me right now. You've cried more tears this year than you have in the last 5. You've watched opportunities slip through your fingers. You've felt rejection pressed down on you like a weight. And yet you're still here. That's your sign. The enemy did his best to destroy you, but you're still standing. You're still breathing. You're still praying. You're still believing. That means God is not finished with you yet. In fact, it means He's just getting started, because the moment you should have given up and didn't, heaven took notice. When your faith held on by a thread, when you praised Him with empty hands, when you worshiped Him through the tears, God marked you for a comeback. You see, God watches how you respond to loss. He observes whether your trust in Him is based on blessings or based on relationship. Will you love Him when He says no? Will you serve Him when the doors close? Will you follow Him through the valley of shadows? Because if you can trust Him with less, He can trust you with more. He is a God who tests before He promotes. And when you pass the test of the wilderness, when you walk through the silence and still choose to worship, then the clouds begin to break and the rain of restoration begins to fall. The Bible says in Joel 2:25, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. That's not just a promise for ancient Israel, it's a living word for you. God is the only one who can give back time. He's the only one who can redeem the days you thought were wasted. The relationship that broke you, the business that failed, the season that was lost in depression and anxiety, He can take all of it and turn it into testimony. He can make the pain pay rent. He can make your suffering speak of His power. But before He does, He will give you a sign. What is that sign? It's not always thunder from heaven. It's not always a sudden breakthrough. Sometimes it's a strange peace that doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's a deep stirring in your belly that you can't explain. Sometimes it's favor showing up in places you didn't expect an email, a conversation, an opportunity. And other times, the sign is opposition. Yes, when all hell breaks loose in your life, that too is a sign that heaven is about to move. Because the enemy doesn't fight people who aren't a threat. If you're under attack, it's because you're carrying something valuable. It's because there's an anointing on your life that scares hell. The greater the resistance, the greater the reward. So don't curse the stormless. Don't fear the loss. Thank God for it. Because what He's about to bring into your life will make sense of every sleepless night, every broken dream, every delayed answer. God is not a man that He should lie. If He promised restoration, it's coming. If He promised promotion, it's on the way. But He will not send it before you're ready. And readiness doesn't come in the palisade, it comes in the pit. Readiness comes when you can say, though He slay me, yet will I trust Him. Readiness comes when you stop chasing what left and start preparing for what's coming. Listen closely. Now before God gives you more, He gives you space. He will clear your table of what you thought was permanent to make room for what's eternal. He will remove people you depended on so that you learn to depend on Him alone. He will close doors that once fed your ego to open ones that feed your purpose. That space, that silence, that stillness, it is not punishment, it is preparation. God doesn't just give more things, He gives more of Himself. And when He is about to pour out more glory, more favor, more influence, He doesn't just rearrange your circumstances, He rearranges your heart. Some of you are in the stretching season right now. You feel the pull. You feel the tension. It's uncomfortable, it's unfamiliar, but it's holy. Because stretching always precedes outpouring. God is enlarging your capacity to carry what He's about to entrust to you. You prayed for more, but you didn't know more would feel like this. You asked for blessings, but you didn't know they would be preceded by brokenness. But hear me, you are not being buried. You are being planted. And when the time is right, you will not just grow, you will flourish. The enemy has tried to convince you that your best days are behind you, that the loss you experienced disqualified you, that the divorce, the failure, the betrayal, the diagnosis, somehow it means that God is done with you. But the devil is a liar. God doesn't retire people, He refines them. He doesn't cancel purpose, He completes it. And the very thing that you thought would break you will become the testimony that builds others. The very place where you experience the most loss will be the place where God sends the greatest harvest. When God is about to give you more than you lost. One of the signs He gives is a holy discomfort. Things that used to satisfy you no longer do. Conversations that once entertained you now feel empty. Environments you used to thrive in begin to feel tight, like clothes that don't fit anymore. That's not depression, that's growth. That's God pulling you higher. That's His Spirit awakening your hunger for something greater. Don't ignore that feeling. Lean into it. Feed it with prayer. Fuel it with the Word. Because when your appetite changes, it means your assignment is changing too. He's shifting your perspective. He's changing your company. He's recalibrating your desires. Because what's coming is not a return to the old, it's an introduction to the new. You will not go back to who you were. You will not settle for what you had. God is calling you forward, forward into abundance, forward into purpose, forward into joy unspeakable and full of glory. But you must be willing to walk away from what no longer serves your destiny. This is the hour to let go. Let go of the bitterness. Let go of the regret. Let go of the timeline you placed on God. He is not late. He is preparing something greater than you asked for. And when He brings it, you won't have to manipulate it, beg for it, or chase it. It will be ordained. It will be undeniable. It will be overflowing. Because what God has for you is tailored for your obedience, not for your impatience. And the moment you surrender the loss, you make room for the miracle. There's someone listening who lost a business. You poured your soul into it. You sacrificed, and it failed. But God says, I let it fail so I could teach you what success really looks like. There's another who lost a relationship you thought was forever. But God says, I removed what was not rooted in me so I could give you something anchored in my covenant. And there's another who lost time, years spent in addiction, fear, running from God. But He says, I am the Redeemer of time, and I will do in 1 year what you couldn't do in 10. So don't just look for what you lost. Look for the signs of what's coming. Look for the doors opening that you didn't knock on. Look for the strength rising in you after seasons of weakness. Look for divine connections, unexpected favor, supernatural peace. These are not coincidences. They are signals from heaven that restoration is underway. You are entering into the season where God makes up for everything you thought was wasted. And when He does, it won't just be enough. It will be more than enough. Stay faithful. Stay humble. Stay expectant. Because your weeping may endure for a night, but joy overflowing, pressed down, shaken together, and running over joy is coming in the morning. And when it arrives, you'll know without a doubt that it was God. Not luck, not man, not your effort, but the hand of the Almighty turning your mourning into dancing, your ashes into beauty, your loss into legacy. And when people ask how it happened, all you'll be able to say is, it was the Lord. And I want you to hear this with every fiber of your being. God is not trying to give you back what you lost exactly as it was. He's not in the business of rewrapping old things. He's in the business of making all things new. What He restores, He transforms. What He returns, He multiplies. When you gave it up in tears, He took it into His hands and began to reshape it. And when He gives it back, it will be pressed down, shaken together, and running over not just to bless you, but to flow through you. Because the blessing that's coming is not for your comfort, it's for your calling. It's not for vanity, it's for victory. When the children of Israel were delivered from Egypt, they did not just leave with their lives, they left with the wealth of their enemies. The Egyptians handed over gold and silver to a people who had been enslaved for 400 years. That is the God you serve. He doesn't just bring you out, He brings you out better than you were before. He restores dignity. He restores strength. He restores position. He restores favor. He will make those who oppressed you pour into your hands what you never thought you could carry. But first, you must be willing to walk out of Egypt. You must be willing to leave behind the familiar chains and step into the unknown freedom. Let me speak to the person who feels forgotten. You've been faithful, and still the doors have remained shut. You've prayed, and heaven has seemed silent. But let me remind you of Joseph betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned. It looked like loss after loss. Yet in a single day, God shifted him from a prison cell to a palace. That's how quickly the tide can turn. When God is ready, no man can block your promotion. No false accusation can stop your purpose. No pit is deep enough to bury your destiny. You are one divine moment away from stepping into more than you lost. But don't lose hope in the process. The delay is not denial, it is divine preparation. Too many people want the blessing but avoid the breaking. They want the platform but reject the pressing. But the oil, the anointing jet, flows only from the crushed olive, and the greater the crushing, the more powerful the anointing. Your pain has purpose. Your sorrow has seed. What you walked through wasn't random, it was sacred. God has been cultivating a deeper well in you, so that when He fills you, you won't just sprinkle, you'll overflow. You'll pour out encouragement. You'll pour out wisdom. You'll pour out healing. Because the blessing you're about to receive is not just for you, it's for every life God will touch through you. The enemy would love for you to stay bitter about the loss, to rehearse the offense, to camp in the graveyard of what used to be. But here, my graves are for endings, and your story is not over. Resurrection is in your DNA. The same Spirit that raised Jesus from the dead is alive in you. That means you don't just bounce back, you rise higher. You don't just survive, you overcome. You don't just recover, you dominate. Because when God is in it, the end is always greater than the beginning. You may not feel it yet. You may not see the evidence with your natural eyes. But this is where faith takes over. Faith is not pretending things are fine. Faith is believing that even in the drought, rain is coming. Faith is declaring God's goodness while still standing in the ashes. Faith is trusting that what He promised, He is faithful to perform. Hebrews 10:23 says, "Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for He who promised is faithful." And if God is faithful, then your restoration is not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You're not hearing this by accident. This is your word in due season. This is God calling your spirit to attention. This is heaven knocking on the door of your soul saying, prepare for more. Stop speaking like you're defeated. Stop thinking like you're stuck. Stop acting like what left was the best that God could do. No, my friend. The best is not behind you, it's in front of you. You serve a God who saves the best wine for last. He's about to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all you could ask or think. But He's asking for your obedience. He's asking for your surrender. He's asking for your belief. Don't be surprised when you feel led to walk away from what others call success. Don't be alarmed when what used to excite you now feels hollow. God is shifting your vision. He's showing you glimpses of the more that is to come. It doesn't look like what you expected. It's bigger. It's holier. It carries more weight, more impact, more eternity. So don't settle for man's applause when heaven is writing your name into divine legacy. Let this be the season where you build again, dream again, hope again. Let this be the hour where your faith rises from the rubble. Pick up the pieces and place them in God's hands. He knows what to do with broken things. He knows how to fashion beauty from ashes, strength from weakness, joy from mourning. You may have lost something valuable, but you did not lose God. And if you still have God, you still have everything. You're not disqualified because of the failure. You're not less favored because of the delay. In fact, your scars are proof that you survived what others didn't. Your tears are proof that your heart remained soft even when life hardened, and your continued worship is the greatest sign of your faith. Heaven applauds a faith that stands in the storm, a faith that waits with expectancy, a faith that says, I may have lost the job, but I didn't lose my joy. I may have lost the connection, but I didn't lose my calling. When God gives you more than you lost, it will carry divine fingerprints. You won't have to force it. You won't have to strive. It will come with peace. It will come with confirmation. It will come with fruit that remains. And the same mouths that mocked your wilderness will testify about your harvest. God will cause those who laughed at your loss to watch your increase. But hear this, don't let your restoration make you arrogant. Stay low, stay humble, stay grateful, because the more He gives you, the more He will require from you. The blessing is not an endpoint, it's an assignment. Let every loss remind you that God is still writing. Let every setback sharpen your hunger for His will, and let every season of lack deepen your dependence on His supply. He is the Alpha and the Omega. What He starts, He finishes. What He allows to fall, He raises in His timing. He is not interested in surface level success. He's interested in eternal glory. So if He's allowed you to be emptied, it's because He's preparing you to be filled with something eternal, something that cannot be shaken, something that will bear fruit for generations. Get ready. You're about to testify like David did in Psalm 23-5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. That's what's coming, an overflowing cup. Not just of things, but of presence, of wisdom, of clarity, of favor. You're about to step into rooms you didn't qualify for, speak in spaces where your voice carries weight, walk in authority you didn't earn, because God is repaying you with purpose. And when it happens, fall on your knees. Not in pride, but in awe, in worship, in reverence, because this is what He always planned, even when you couldn't see it. So let the heavens hear your praise before the blessing arrives. Let your song rise from the pit before the palace opens. Let your hands be lifted in surrender before the miracle knocks. Because the surest sign that God is about to give you more than you lost is when your worship gets louder than your worry, when your faith gets stronger than your fear, when your obedience rises above your understanding. That's when heaven moves. That's when the door swings wide. That's when more than you can imagine floods into your life, not because you earned it, but because He promised it. And His promises, beloved, are yes and amen. And listen to me now. God's promises do not expire. His word does not weaken over time. What He spoke over your life is still alive. It does not matter how many seasons have passed. It does not matter how many doors have closed, how many voices said you missed it, how many mistakes you made along the way. The voice of the Lord is sovereign over your story. His grace is still active. His hand is still extended. He is not just the God of second chances. He is the God of endless mercy. He doesn't change His mind because of your past. He still sees the purpose in your soul. He still calls you chosen. And when He is ready to bring restoration, no amount of delay, no army of demons, no wall of resistance can stand in the way of His outstretched arm. Sometimes, before God gives you more, He makes you lose count. You look at your life and say, I can't even track what's been taken from me. I can't measure the time, the relationships, the peace, the strength, the clarity I once had. But here is the beauty of it. God is not asking you to count what you lost. He's asking you to trust what He's about to release. Because what He's preparing to pour into your life cannot be compared to what left. Paul said in Romans 8:18, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us, not to use in us. That means the transformation will not just touch your surroundings, will ignite your spirit. It will be internal before it is external. It will change you before it changes your situation. And that's why you had to walk through it. That's why you had to endure the fire, the isolation, the silence, because God wasn't just trying to fix your environment, He was forming your character. He wasn't just preparing a blessing, He was preparing a person. And before He blesses you with, He blesses you into discernment, into patience, into wisdom, into obedience. These are the invisible treasures that carry the visible miracles. Because if He gave you more without the maturity, the blessing would destroy you. But with the maturity, the same blessing will lift you, keep you, and multiply through you. You see, when God restores, He doesn't simply return what you lost. He recalibrates your heart to receive what you couldn't handle before. He increases your appetite for holiness. He purifies your motives. He sharpens your ear to hear His voice. Some of you didn't lose anything of eternal value. You were pruned. And the pruning felt like punishment. It felt like rejection, but it was protection. Because God only prunes what He plans to grow. He only cuts back what He intends to multiply. So do not mourn over what He removed. Rejoice that he saw you worthy of fruitfulness. Even now, I feel this strongly. Someone is about to step into their recompense season, divine payback. Not revenge, but restoration. God is going to repay you in a way that the enemy can't interrupt and people can't deny. And it will be public because your pain was public. The betrayal was public. The humiliation was public. And now the reward will be undeniable. The mouths that slandered you will have to watch as God lays a feast before you. Psalm 31-19 declares, "How great is your goodness, which you have stored up for those who fear you, which you bestow in the sight of men on those who take refuge in you." Do you hear that? God has been storing up goodness. He's been holding it, protecting it, preparing it, and He's about to release it in full view. But make no mistake, this is not about material wealth or temporary comfort. No, the more that God is about to give you reaches deeper than dollars and praise. It is peace that surpasses understanding. It is boldness that cannot be intimidated. It is joy that cannot be stolen. It is influence that points to heaven. It is legacy. It is authority in the Spirit. It is open doors that lead to eternal impact. Because when God restores, He is not just fixing your past, He is launching your future. So I say this with love and urgency. Shake off the ashes. Stop mourning what God has already buried. The tomb is empty. The stone has been rolled away. Don't stand at the grave of old seasons crying for resurrection. What's ahead of you is not buried, it's alive, it's growing, it's near, but you must rise. You must dust off the garments of grief and put on the garments of praise. You must trade your spirit of heaviness for a mantle of expectancy, because God responds to faith. He answers expectation. He moves where there is belief. This is the moment where you dare to believe again, not because everything is perfect, but because He is perfect. Not because you see the full picture, but because you trust the painter. God is not asking you to understand it. He's asking you to walk in it, to take that next step, even if your legs are trembling, to pray that next prayer, even if your heart is bruised, to dream that next dream, even if your last one was crushed. Because with every step of obedience, you're drawing closer to the divine release. Can you sense it? The air is shifting. The heavens are rumbling. The Spirit is stirring. God is positioning people, aligning circumstances, orchestrating favor, and preparing your table. And not just any table alone that only He can set. A table filled with grace, seasoned with mercy, overflowing with purpose. You will eat and be satisfied. You will drink and never thirst again. Because the one who restores your soul is faithful. He did not bring you this far to leave you empty-handed. He didn't deliver you just to abandon you. He brought you out so He could bring you into fulfillment, into harvest, into legacy. So, rise up, lift your head, stand in holy confidence. You are not who you used to be. You've been refined. You've been tested. You've been chosen. And now you are being released. Released into destiny, released into calling, released into a season of more, not just more for your benefit, but more for His glory. This is not the end of your story. It's the unveiling of the chapter that God has been writing in the dark, waiting for the light of His perfect timing. And that timing is now. The doors are opening, the rivers are parting, the heavens are thundering with your name. God is about to give you more than you low stand when He does. It will be above what you imagined, beyond what you prayed for, and greater than what you thought you deserved. And you will say, with tears running down your face, hands lifted in awe, surely the Lord has done this. So I ask you now, what will you do with this moment? Will you continue to live as though your loss defines you, or will you rise up in the faith that God has never taken His eyes off you? This is the hour to return to the altar, not the altar of religion or routine, but the altar of surrender. Lay down your pain. Lay down your timeline. Lay down the questions you've carried in the midnight hours. Let your heart cry out once more, "Here I am, Lord, even now I still believe." Because faith doesn't just wait for the blessing, it worships before it arrives. Do not walk out of this moment numb or indifferent. Shake yourself awake. Stir your spirit. Tear down every lie that is whispered to you that God forgot you. He did not forget. He was forming. He was pruning. He was positioning. Every tear you cried was counted. Every prayer you prayed was bottled. Every silent night was recorded in heaven's book. And now you are standing on holy ground, the kind of ground where stories shift and destinies ignite, the kind of ground where heaven meets earth in divine fulfillment. If you've grown weary, let hope be rekindled in you today. If you've grown cold, let the fire be reignited. If you felt abandoned, let this truth wrap around your soul. God is faithful, and He is not just going to restore you, He is going to exceed every expectation you laid before Him. Not because you are worthy, but because He is good. Not because you earned it, but because you belong to Him. You are His beloved, you are His chosen, and your life still holds kingdom purpose. So walk with your head high, not in arrogance, but in assurance, not in pride, but in promise. Go back into the world with a shout in your soul that says, "I have seen the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living." Go with strength in your step and peace in your heart. Go knowing that even what you lost cannot compare to the glory that's about to be revealed. And above all, go with God, closer than your breath, mightier than your burden, and more faithful than your fears. He walks with you, He carries you, and He is leading you straight into the place called more than enough